Are you ready? Alchemy of the apocalypse. People have told me not to use that word, apocalypse. It's too scary. People will go, ooh, no. But I think we're ready for that word. And of course, apocalypse doesn't have to mean catastrophe. It's in fact, that definition, that angle was added to the original meaning of the word apocalypse only like in the 1800s, somewhere around there. Anyway, but the actual origination of the word is apo. It means to unveil, and calypso is that which is hidden. Is, something in a cave, for instance, that which is hidden. So the unveiling of that which is hidden, like apology is to unveil the logic that you thought you had, Okay, so the apocalypse, it's an unveiling, and we're certainly, that which has been hidden is certainly being unveiled right now. I mean, big time, really big time. And it's a gift. This is a gift. Now, with the book of Revelation, which we associate with this word apocalypse, there's this story that was put out, very, very interesting vision that was had by John of Patmos. And the vision consisted of many things. I'm only going to give you a little piece of it. But part of it was that he came before the throne of God and was handed a scroll. Now, first note that it is one scroll, and I think of a scroll as like a timeline. It's it unrolls a story. It's a particular way to tell the story, right? So a scroll is like a timeline. He's given this one scroll that's got 7 seals on it to look at. And nobody wants to open it. They're like all too scared. No, I don't want to look at that. And that which is most innocent, the lamb, comes and is able to open it. And, there's the whole idea that the lamb is Jesus and all of that. But I'm going to not worry about that part. It's all metaphor and it's all written in kind of dream imagery. So I'm going to look at this from a kind of more like a Jungian point of view, okay? So the lamb, that which is innocent, that which is young and dear, soft, is sacrificial, is willing to open it, has the courage, has the capacity to open it. So this one timeline, out of a library, probably, out of a huge, probably an infinitely filled library, this one scroll was taken out and said, here, you better look at this one, It's a cautionary tale. I want to tell you, it's a cautionary tale. It's like, this is a possibility, and you should know about it so that, you don't go down this one because it ends like this, And actually, I'll skip to the ending to begin, because it's actually good. It kind of helps, if you know the ending, it kind of helps you to be able to witness the timeline. And, the ending is that saying of, endgame of the universe, in my opinion, endgame of this experiment is the ecstatic expression and the wholeness of all, where everything is able to find its place and be ecstatically involved in the expression dynamically and in relationship, and just the ultimate ecstasy of everything. That's endgame. That's where we're going ultimately. But I don't know how close that is. It's possible that we can have glimpses of it, but endgame is when that's just the condition. So, But in the meantime, we're going through all kinds of other possible permutations and trying to see, well, how do we get there from here, Well, this was one way. And it's not the one that I would like to choose. I would really rather choose something else. But we have to understand this way because it's actually, it has its grip on us. And we need to be able to understand it so that we can choose differently. Okay? So, when the scroll gets opened, the first 4 seals, it's like they're chapters. Each is a chapter, you could say. The first 4 seals of the 7 is the release of the 4 horsemen. You've heard of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So how I understand it from a more Jungian point of view, and I think this is very, very functional, is that those 4 horsemen are how this particular timeline gets released. It gets put into play is if these 4 horsemen are released, and who these 4 horsemen are they are our panicked response to the arrival of the unknown, especially an intense unknown. This is but you can take this down to even subtle things. You can apply this. You can use this as a realm of study or studying yourself to see, am I encouraging a catastrophic timeline, or am I actually centered in myself and open to this going in a different way? So, okay. So I see them as panicked response, and each of these horsemen is representing a different aspect of the self. So the first horseman that comes out is the mental. It's the head. He's comes out with a bow and arrow. He's got a crown, which, the crown signifies the head. And it also signifies that he believes he is the elite, that he knows, and he's the one that should be in charge, and he's the one that's going to figure it out. And he comes galloping out on this white horse, and the horse represents the emotional body. It represents the emotional, physical body. Actually, horses are very powerful and they're very immediate. And if they've got a rider on them that's, directing them only from the head, this is what happens, and, panic, he comes out, he's got his bow and arrow, what's going on, and he's like, I better figure this out, and he's got his bow and arrow drawn, and he's going to pin it down. He's going to figure it out. He's going to precisely, do a surgical strike, it's like, and, get this under control, it's all about control. Okay, so that's the first horseman. But then, if that doesn't work, and it doesn't, it doesn't, ultimately it doesn't, because you're disrespecting a whole lot of stuff, and it's not actually resonant, it's not panic, it's panicked. So the second horseman gets released, chapter 2, and the second horseman comes out on a red horse, and he's got a sword, and he is the physical body, and it's just power. It's our relationship to power. First one is our relationship to the unknown, which the head goes towards immediately. Second, if that's not working, is that, people may do this depending on who they are in different ways, but this is how this particular story was written. So, secondly, then power comes out. It's like, screw it. If I can't figure it out, I'm just going to get rid of it. And it destroys it. It just goes out and it's wanton destruction with some idea that that's going to be the answer. Stupid. But this is in our psyche. We do this. You can read this, right? So, so that second horseman comes out. Third horseman then is released, chapter 3, and in the third chapter, or under the third seal, it's our relationship to lack and disease and lack of resources. It's our relationship to resources. So it's like, everything's been destroyed. Oh, damn, now what do I do? I better go through and like gather up, anything that might still keep me alive. It's like, oh, well, is this still good? I'll make sure I've got that, kind of hoarding and, property. And, he comes out with scales. That's the symbol. And what these scales are, it's not about justice. It's about measuring. Is this okay? Well, yeah, it's okay. I'll keep that. Is this enough? I'll keep that. Ooh, this one's toxic. Better throw that, get that away. This one is going to hurt me some more, this one, whatever. It's like this weighing of things and trying to get resources in order to carry through. And then, but you're working with only what's left. It's about lack of resources that gets really stimulated. And the potential for disease. Some people call it famine. It's been called famine. The second one's been called war. The first one's been called conquest. And then the fourth one comes out. And chapter 4, Fourth Horseman comes out. He's on a pale horse. And he's followed. It's called Death. And he's followed by Hades. So psychologically, oh my goodness, I don't have enough resources. I've destroyed it all. I thought I was supposed to be able to handle it. And the Fourth Horseman says, this didn't work. I'm going to die. And not only am I going to die, but I'm going to hell. He's followed by Hades. It was my fault, and I am damned. This is like the ultimate fear. I mean, this is the ultimate panic about death, is that you're going to hell, It's, all of this is just a panicked response in our psyche, that if that gets released, if that's what we do, then the next 2 chapters, 3 chapters, I'm not quite sure, I have to read it again, but it's this catastrophic, ugly expression of the destruction of the world. And then, I forgot to say this at the beginning, but then actually the New Jerusalem does arise. There are 144,000, which sounds like a really small number in comparison to the 7 or 8 billion that are on the planet, right? But don't worry if you didn't get your ticket. You haven't missed the boat. It's not about a number. It's not a quantity. The 144,000 is a geometric consciousness. It's an understanding. 12 is the number that defines the whole circle. And 12 times 12, is the next fractal iteration of the number 12, right? That's 144. And then to do that by 1,000 is to understand that there are many, many, many realms. And if you are touched, if you are part of understanding that you are part of a geometry that is 144,000 ringing, then you'll be part of the New Jerusalem. You'll be part of the new paradigm. It's a geometric consciousness. But it's a wholeness. It's like an extremely expanded consciousness that really understands how all of this can be working together and is part of this beautiful crystalline whole. So, that's endgame. That was the endgame that I meant to say at the beginning. And that's described in this particular timeline. But that's the end game in all of the timelines, actually. But you don't have to get there through this particular one, It's like, you can't, that phrase, you can't stop what's coming, Actually, what's coming is really, really, really good. So that's the result we want to remember. And we want to find there. It's 144,000, my dear. There are many, many other realms, ways to get into that. And we've been warned, basically. We've been warned. So what are we being warned to practice? What are we being cautioned to practice? Well, basically, don't panic. You know, that English thing, don't panic, stay calm, or whatever it is. There's something about not panicking. That's a good idea, but how do you do that? You have to understand how to find your center. You have to understand how to relax. You have to understand that this is a larger universe that has got your back, and that the earth is our most accessible. It is our assignment right now. She is hooked in with the larger. She is clearly a part of the larger universe, and we have separated ourselves out. And, you know, I mean, it's being expressed, it's being projected out, it's being procepted out by all of the stories that are going on right now, all the ways that the viruses and the danger that we project, and that nothing is safe, you know, and not even myself. Oh, I might even, you know, my own body may be a weapon for somebody. You know, it's like, what? You know, this is just crazy. I mean, that would create a lot of panic, you know. It's not a timeline to choose. This is not a good timeline to choose. So to remember that this body is actually part of an infinitely intelligent natural order that is in scale and harmonically being informed at much grander levels of scale and intelligence. And that if you can relax and bring genuine open interest, find respect for yourself and other, which is spaciousness. Part of respect is spaciousness, holding that there is enough space for us both to exist. I respect that you exist, and I respect that I exist. And I can take, that's not just this polarity, that's a very large realm of self and other, you know. And that right now, my experience is this is my center. I am experiencing the universe from here, and it's rare that I actually can get a taste that's really much larger than that. I'm humble about that. I'm humbled by that. You know, knowing how big the universe and how limited my perception is. I'm sincerely humbled. And that's actually, you know, how to relax with that humility so that I can receive the gift of other, which is also harmonically responding. You know, if we can feel each other's harmonic relaxation with the whole, that's going to inspire a completely different relationship. That's going to allow this endgame to plop in, not through the apocalyptic story, that particular, the Book of Revelation timeline. Yeah. There are many other ways to do this, and may we do it gracefully. And it might be that some people choose that all those timelines could be happening simultaneously. And on this planet, they seem to be very interwoven at the moment, but there might be some way that those choices can actually find a little bit of separation from each other, so that the darker choices can do their thing elsewise, and that the ones that want to do it more joyfully, more respectfully, more healthfully can do that without interruption. But the ones that are going to be really healthful are going to understand the dark. They have to be in right relationship to it. It's not a polarization this way. It's a polarization of self to other, that is where the self becomes the larger, that is able to hold dynamics that are not healthy in their proper place. And actually, that's as information. And it syncs. You know, you can, this thing about giving it to the planet. It's ballast. It becomes ballast. The negative, the dark, all of the difficult stories, the history that we've been through that's been really dark and negative. If the light is in it, what it does is it sinks to south. And the light being in it, being understood, it being penetrated and understood so that all of its angles can be truly understood. Then it comes back into vertical, but it comes back as ballast in the south so that the whole alignment can find a new relationship, a new way of finding harmonic relationship in a larger universe, and not have it be restricted to the old stories that are very limiting at this point and have consequences that we really would prefer not to go through. I'm assuming that you would agree with me, so I hope you do. Okay, I think that's it for now. Thanks.